spoken.
Morning, Jason.
Morning, Glenn. How are you?
I'm good. I want to, before we get too far into it, I want to introduce our special guest. We got Mr. Jerry Hancock sitting in with us for a little bit. He goes by Kiati Randy on all the forums and Rebel Scum Days and Facebook. So Jerry's a good friend of the club and good friend of ours. And just want to get him on here. He's got an interesting focus, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But we want to, just have him on, say hey. And how you doing, Jerry?
Good. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah. How's everybody's weeks?
Pretty cool.
Jerry, you have to say yes. You can't just nod.
Yeah, sorry. I'm used to this Zoom world, man. It's like, yeah, COVID killed me, but yeah, it's good for me. I made it to Friday. That's like the finish line for me. I teach out in Duluth, so it's like that's once I get to that Friday finish line, it's like 9 days. I don't have to think about it, so that's nice.
Right. So yeah, because we're Thanksgiving break.
Yeah. You're on vacation.
Officially. Now I get to start cleaning because we got family coming in. My dad's coming up to visit, so
that's the best. Your wife's at the beach and you got to clean the house.
Yeah, the maid service. That's what I told her. The maid service will be coming this week.
You had a pretty decent week, man. What did you pick up?
Wow. Yeah. I hooked up with a seller who's like, a bad cocaine dealer. He's just always so convenient and has prices I can't say no to. So, I managed to pick up a couple pieces. I had a loose Cloud City playset, and I had a loose Rebel Command Center. And I don't know, man. I got in this box thing, and I can't. It's like crack. I used to collect Men on Cards back in the late 90s and early 2000s, right when the whole prequel trilogy madness kicked in. And I had a few nice pieces, but I had a couple of sales through the mail where the bubbles cracked. So I guess in 2014 we bought our first house. I lost faith in the bubble thing. I was so worried about the bubbles cracking because prices just keep getting higher and the bubbles keep getting more fragile. And so I got out of the mock thing and really just focused most of my stuff on loose. But yeah, I've gotten this box thing now because there's no plastic bubble to deal with.
Right.
Paper products. I feel like it's a pretty good investment, and there's just something about pulling it out of the box when it's like really like out of the box condition. So that's been my new crack is I'm building up this focus. It's mostly Sears exclusives, but yeah, I managed to get a Cloud City playset. I had a really nice box and I had a nice loose piece, but I had an offer to get a box that was basically untouched.
Nice.
The box was ratted. The proof of purchase was cut out of it, and the price was just, I couldn't say no, but I was looking at the piece and it looked like there was some moisture on the box or something. And I'm like, oh shit, what have I bought? I thought this thing is coming out of some wet basement or something. So I contacted the seller, luckily he hadn't sent it yet. And he goes, I was like, dude, you didn't mention anything about the moisture damage. I was like, I had to look really closely at the pictures. And he's like, wow, you got eagle eyes, man. I didn't even notice that. And I'm like, I'm feeling sort of swindled here. And he's like, well, I tell you what, I'll open it and we'll see what's inside.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's good, the deal's still there. If it's not, he's like, I'll keep it. So I was like, okay. So he opens the box, cuts the sealed box.
Oh, Jesus.
Opens the box and pulls this stuff out, and it's like factory fresh, no moisture damage, freaking flawless. And I bought it. I swapped out my loose set with the untouched set and put it in the nice box. And I've got like this freaking gem. I got a slide bottom acrylic case from AFA so I can take it out. I got my white gloves. Yeah, I think it was a guy at the IC Con last spring. He said, touch it like it's your best friend's wife. So yeah, I got that, and I command center, which was in really great shape. The figures weren't bagged or anything, but yeah, that freaking Cloud City, man, is just, oh my god.
Awesome.
It's funny that you mention the paper products and plastic, because it seems like blue snaggletooth is starting to deteriorate in front of our eyes right now.
Yeah, John Waterhouse lost his. It was his childhood blue snag. It fell off a shelf, hit the floor, freaking torso shattered. Yeah, and it's really those yellow torsos you got to look out for, because it'll cause it to get this sort of deep green. And when you see that, I think it's getting fragile at that point. I've got one graded that I found where the torso is just like pure blue. So of course I put it in an archival case with UV protection.
Yeah.
It's just, the prices are just bonkers on those now.
Yeah, I have mine in a slide bottom case, and I was thinking I needed the case for something else, and I pulled my snag out and I put it on the shelf, and that John Waterhouse came to mind, and I'm just like, no, I'm going to put it right back in the case, put it right back on the shelf, because I do not want to take a chance.
Yep.
Yeah, but it's just, the prices are just so ridiculous now, which Jason, you mentioned yesterday you thought they were cooling off, and I'm starting to see that as well.
Yes. Yeah. We're about to get into vintage loose pricing, and yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. It's come down a little bit.
Yeah. I've noticed on the Star Wars tracker, there's no red arrows pointing down, though. They're always green and pointing up. Is that his optimism? Or?
Maybe. That's not what I saw this past week, but we'll get into that.
Okay.
Jason,
how about you, Glenn? What'd you pick up?
Only thing I picked up this week, I mean, I've got stuff. We've never really made a rule. Do we talk about stuff we ordered that is in the mail, or do we talk about stuff that when we actually have it in our hands? So we've never really made a rule. So if we want to talk about stuff that I ordered and I'm waiting for it to come in, I found an Ezra pre-production Galactic Heroes. It's a color I've never seen before, but it's on its way from China. So pick that up off eBay. So it's pretty cool. There's no markings. There's no COOs on it or anything. So that's going to be awesome. And then the only other thing I picked up was we went over to Second Chance. It was great. Well, we'll get into it, but we had our meetup yesterday, and we'll get more into it later. But as we're sitting down, we're done bowling, and we're just shooting the shit. And basically somebody goes, Second Chance. And Mandy looks at me and goes, they don't close till 7. And I thought it was past 7. I look at my watch, it's 6. And I call Chance, and I'm, Chance, are you guys still there? He's like, yeah, we don't close till 7. I said, cool. I'm bringing a bunch of people over. So we went and checked them out at like 6:30 last night. And he had like a big Lego Boba Fett flashlight thing that I picked up from him.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, they've got their that other room where we had our meetup a month or so ago. They've got that all set up with a bunch of cases, and it's
cool.
It's looking awesome.
I when I saw your post yesterday, I laughed because I was like, thank God I left when I did. Because I'm like, man, I can't go to those places because wow, I was really impressed with them when we had the meetup out there. Just what a great store.
Yeah, they're great guys, and then they're expanding, so they're taking like their second suite, and they're gonna put like more girl, have like a little girl focus, not little girl, but have a girl focus, and like more vintage stuff, like the higher end stuff on the other end of the suite. So it'll be cool when they get it set up. It is looking nice in there.
Yeah, their vintage prices, man. I was very impressed. I mean, it's much more realistic prices of what. I mean, the eBay prices right now are just. I mean, yeah, I get it. You got your fees and so on and so forth, but yeah, the prices on eBay lately have just been bonkers. I feel like they're much more in line with the collector community's prices versus eBay prices.
Right. And they're always willing to work with you. You know, you make a big pile of stuff. They're good guys. I like David and Chance. They're good for the community. Yeah. You picked up something pretty major, Jason.
Yeah, I sold my comic books, and I bought yes. And with that, I bought a pre-production Kylo Ren transforming playset from Micro Machines that never went into production.
Cool.
So about 6 of them were recently discovered. And so I got that on the way. and I can't wait to get that this week.
Freaking awesome.
Yeah. It comes with the Rey figure. It looks like the Rey from like the end of the movie when she climbs the steps. So it comes with that. There's no stickers. It's pre-production, so they didn't finish it. And it doesn't have the TIE fighter that was supposed to come with it, but I think it was just a regular TIE fighter with scorch marks on the side. So you don't really need to make a pre-production of that because you have TIE fighters around. But
where'd you send me the pictures of that?
It's a messenger. It was on our chat.
Our chat. Okay.
Yeah, it was available on Dorkside, but it never became like available because it didn't go into production.
I saw that address, or no, it's Big Bad Toy Store.
Big Bad.
Yeah. I saw the address and I'm like, are they selling these?
No.
I didn't know what was up. Yeah, that's a cool piece, man.
Yeah, I'm excited to have that. So.
Yeah.
It's funny how that works though, and I always think about it as like money from the sky, but say like with the thing I was talking about earlier with the Cloud City playset. So I turn around and sell my loose one with the ratted out box that I swapped out. You always see that as like free money.
Yes.
You sell a piece and you instantly turn around and you're like, well, cool. Now I got this money. I can get something else. You sort of think of it as profit, but then obviously it goes into other things.
Yep.
Well, when we were talking about later, because he was like, I'm going to sell my comics, and he's chatting with me. And I said, well, you could sell it to, X, Y, or Z. He goes, oh, I need money. Because he was chasing this piece.
Yes. They're just sitting there. I mean, they're in the corner of my room doing nothing. I'm not looking at them.
Yeah.
Afra is the character to collect, and I had number 1, but I'm like, I really don't like that character.
Yeah.
So why do I have the book?
Yeah.
Let somebody else enjoy it.
I tell you, man, I think was it you guys I was talking to the other day about the Aura Singh series? Like, I really got into that. And I'm not a comic book guy. But I really got into that series, and I thought that character could have done so much. Yeah. And then she just sort of falls by the wayside.
Yeah, that whole character was weird because she was a late addition to episode 1.
Yeah.
I thought that they wanted to add her because they were going to use a female bounty hunter in episode 2, but then they went with Zam Wessel. They didn't include Aura Singh.
Yeah, I wonder if it was some sort of contract thing, or
I don't know.
Because I know the girl who played her was like, she's a model or something. So I didn't know if it was like, what happened with the girls who played the Tonica sisters. I mean, was it a likeness issue? I didn't know what happened with that.
Oh, no, they during the episode 1 days, Lucasfilm had that ironclad contract, and they covered all of their bases because that was after the Tonka sister thing. So if you're working with Lucasfilm, don't expect to retain any of your likeness rights.
They're going to slap it on anything that sells.
Yep.
Right.
Disney and
especially in the age of Disney.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you guys want to get into our meetup yesterday?
Sure.
Yeah, we had our meetup yesterday, and it was the first time we've done this. Jason and I had discussed it. Or actually, Jason came up with the idea because he'd been to another event in was it Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
And they were basically doing collection tours. So you spent the day going from collection to collection versus spending a day in one collection. And we're like, we could do that here, especially for people that, feel like Jerry, you were saying, you have this situation where you only have like one room of stuff, or you have like a corner of a room of stuff. Yeah. And it would be hard to entertain people for 3 or 4 hours, where you could do it for an hour, hour and a half. And people, people not cheated is the wrong word, but you'd get the most out of showing your collection off. So we figured we can do that here, and we did it yesterday, and it was our collection, my collection, Jason's collection, and then a guy, Tim Connor's collection, who falls into that category. He's like, I don't have a lot of room, but I can host if we do it, do it creatively. I can host. And, I thought it went off really good. We've got some stuff we could work out because we only planned like 45 minutes per collection, and we ended up hanging out like an hour and a half because everybody's sitting around talking, and you look at the watch and go, oh crap.
Gotta move. Yeah, that's my fault because I was just thinking, you go into the room, you check out the collection, you get in your car, and you take off. And I completely missed the social aspect of the whole event where people hang out, they sit down, they enjoy themselves. People don't want to go boom to boom to boom. They don't want to race through collections. They want to chill and meet and hang out with people. That's the whole reason for the.
Is it a post-COVID thing? Is that what it is?
Yeah, something like that.
That's what we were talking. Mandy and I were talking about the either last night or this morning, we're sitting around talking, and we've never had this many people over we never had people over since we finished our deck. I'm like, no, we basically finished it and then COVID hit. So it's been like 2 years since we've really had people over, which is crazy.
Yeah.
That thing's awesome, man. I love that. It's like an extension of your living room. It's just awesome.
Yeah, and I think that kind of led to people because we were just chilling out there, and before you knew it, it was 12:30, and it's like, we got to leave in 15 minutes if we're going to keep on this time track. But and people hadn't even seen the collection yet.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe an hour and a half is better for a collection tour. But then if you do that, you're looking at like a 5-hour day.
Yeah. I think if you do it for maybe limited to 2 collections at that point, but still, even yesterday we were out till 8 o'clock, 7:30, 8 o'clock. But
I think we should just do the fall crawl every year and just have a different area of Atlanta, not do like a spring crawl or whatever, and just make it, the fall crawl is like a summer social, winter social. It's a 5-hour event. It's on one side of Atlanta.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, that works for me, man. I think that'll. So what? Well, I had a freaking blast yesterday. I freaking loved it. It was fun. We hit that whole northwest side. I like the crawl aspect of it with the stamp at each stop. Saw Donnie Lawson posted on the Facebook page this morning about he wanted one of those glasses. I'm like, yep, had to be there, man. Had to get the stamp.
Yeah, with what Jerry's talking about is we actually, Jason, and we're going to expand. We plan on expanding on this next year, but each stamp, each place, you had a passport and you got a stamp. And at the end of the event, if you made it to all 3 stops, you got a nice glass that Jason had made with the club logo on it. So it was a nice little remembrance souvenir.
Yep.
But yeah, it was a fun event, man. It definitely was. But yeah, and then we went bowling afterwards. So everybody hung out and drank and went bowling. And of course, my wife bought a pitcher of beer because it was cheaper. So yeah, I was yelling at bowling pins and bowling balls. And at one point I went on my backswing, lost my ball, and people were running. And then I bowled a strike. So maybe I need to do that every time I roll.
I was in the direct line of fire. Yeah.
Jerry was running, going, no. It was a good day. It
was fun.
Yeah, Tim's collection, man. I'm still trying to get over that.
I had the Willy Wonka song stuck in my head. Come with me, and you'll be in a world of your imagination.
It was overload. It was, man. I was like, when we walked outside, I was glad to get some fresh air and some sunlight because you just go into this world. I mean, you open the guy's kitchen cabinets and it's boxes of Star Wars cereal.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And all the girls were like, dude, what do you eat? Where do you cook? He's like, I don't. I eat. And it was like, even me, I was like, man, where do you sleep? Oh, there's, let me move some crap out the way. There's the bed. So I guess that's where you sleep.
He's a guest in his own house.
There's so much to look at. You're like, what do I look at? And then you're looking at this wall for 15 minutes and you're like, how did I not see that painting? It's just everywhere.
And then there's like a wall, and then there's stuff on the wall, and then there's another layer of stuff, and then there's like a third layer of stuff. So it was crazy. But yeah, all the guys are like, if I was single, this is what my house would look like. And
if I wasn't married, didn't have kids, yes.
We even had one guy get on the phone with his mother and was like, I don't want to hear you complaining anymore. And it's like showing her the room.
Yeah, I keep it localized. I'm very fortunate. My wife is pretty understanding because, like I say, we're in a small place and I have like a corner of the master suite. That's all I have for display purposes. So I'm pretty particular about what I have displayed because, we're limited. So it's all about strategically placing items and stuff like that. But then my closet, is like a freaking toy store puked in it. And then I've got a storage place about I guess a mile away, and half of it is toys and box.
Yeah, I'm pretty fortunate, but I also have the rule, if I don't display it, I get rid of it. If I can't display it, I get rid of it. But
Good rule.
yeah,
Makes
I'm
sense.
also at the point where it's like you got to move stuff out the way to put a new piece out. So
I love like your collection. I love because it's got such it's almost an art gallery type feel to it. You have so much art in there. That part is, I mean, obviously your Bill and Ted case is stunning.
Thank you.
But that I love the art gallery feel that you have in your collection.
Well, that's what I was telling somebody. It's hard because you go to a con and you see all this great art and you start looking at it and they go, oh, it's 5 for 25 or 5 for 50. And then you're just like, F it, I'm going to buy more art. So you end up coming back with a lot of art from a show because it's hard to say no.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
It's a good day.
So let's get into the news. Yay. What's new?
Oh.
I mean, should we talk about the Rancor in the room?
Yeah.
That's everything. Everywhere you go. I mean, it was I got in like 3 or 4 different separate Rancor conversations.
All right, let's have the definitive Rancor conversation right now.
Okay. Here we
All
go.
right.
So we got multiple perspectives.
Yeah, the Rancor at one point was at 5,200 backers. Hasbro released their tier 2, which was the backdrop with some bones, which when I first saw the photo of the Rancor and then the white little pieces at the bottom, I thought somebody spilled popcorn in the photo. Like it didn't look like anything. And people started to unback it. And then they went ahead and did their live stream from a conference room, which was, they released tier 2 and they waited a while and then quickly they're releasing tier 3 and 4. So it seemed a lot like Damage Control because people were unbacking and they're like, wait, hold on. So they had this live stream and I'm sorry, I'm biased here because it felt like Damage Control. It felt rushed. They didn't have it mic'd properly. The lighting was kind of dim in the room. You can hear the echoes. So it did feel to me like it was, we need to do something and turn this thing around. And it didn't help it. The Rancor itself looked beautiful. They had a painted version of it. I think when you have it, like when you do a Kickstarter program, for the most part, sometimes they have a finished product. And I think a multi-billion-dollar entertainment company like Hasbro should have a completed Rancor and say, here it is. This is what we've got. Slap it on the table. I don't think they should be doing gray models. Like, you're not a small toy company. You should have the resources to put the Rancor out and show it to us from the start. I think a lot of people felt like it wasn't a $350 toy.
Right.
200, maybe 250. Yes, I do that. But there needs to be some sort of value added to the Rancor. I think with those tiers, that's the whole thing, is to get excitement, to bring things that they can't normally do at retail. And if you can't do an ULA or a Rancor Keeper, this is the perfect opportunity because they are, the Rancor is the showcase. It's the piece that we're buying into, and everything should be in orbit around that. So it's questionable when they do add, as much as I love the Salacious Crumb. I mean, it's just a deliberate repack. We have this. It's coming out. Let's just throw it on a card. People love it. And I think the feedback that they're starting to see from the community is that we don't want that. We want things that relate to the Rancor. Tony Johnson tagged the start of the live stream at about 51.36 for backers, and now it's under 5,000.
Jesus.
We're in the 4,900s.
Yeah. I mean, I think you said it, I think it shows the youth of the current Hasbro Star Wars team. They're more about building that vibe on the internet, building that sort of campaign approach to it. And that's why they're doing the prototypes. And I'll be honest, this sort of seems like what happened with, the sequel trilogy. There was no direction when it started, really. It was more about building this vibe and you get this toy. But I just feel like their youth is showing on this. I think when it comes to building a brand, they got that part down. But when it comes to knowing what collectors want, I think sometimes they miss the mark.
It's an interesting perspective. I didn't think about it because I guess I think of Hasbro as corporate. I don't really think of the team that's behind the whole project, and maybe they're
Yeah.
a little bit younger and they're not the 40, 50-year-old collectors who resonated,
Yeah.
who've been with Star Wars since its conception.
And I think when you're losing Mark Boudreau, I think that was a big loss, I think, for the team and for the brand, because he was that vestige of the old Kenner days. And now that he's gone, I know that they've made like a public mention of this in some of their branding, in that, oh yeah, we've got guys from the Kenner line working on this. That's a selling point for them now, but I don't know that those guys had quite the voice and the input that Mark Boudreau did. So when he left the company, man, I just saw that as a big loss for the brand.
Yeah,
Agreed.
I just think they lost when they announced it at 350. It lost a big chunk of people because like with the Ghostbusters thing, that's at 400 and it has lights and all the things, lights and sounds and everything, and the Rancor just sits there. I think if they were going to do it at 350, they should have said this is what you get for 350 and said, forget the tiers, you're getting the Rancor and you're getting all this other stuff, and then I think they'd be okay. Yeah. But unless they do that, I don't think it's going to get back.
No. Yeah, the first tier is at 11,000. I think they're just going to barely make it to 9, and if they don't, they're going to extend it a little bit. But I think Hasbro has shot itself in the foot. I think it's like Jerry is saying there, that they're showing their age and inexperience, I guess, when it comes to dealing with older collectors, and that's who's collecting this stuff. It's not the kids. It's the older generation. And when you see campaigns like Yakface saying "No Ula, no Mula," I know Hasbro looks at this stuff, and I know they see it, and I know they're part of these Facebook groups, and when they see that, they're ignoring it.
Yeah.
Right. Because well, what would it have cost them? $100,000 to do that figure, the Ula?
Anywhere between 100 to 500,000.
You're right. And it's still something that, just like what they did with the Yak Face mold, they could have released it later.
Yeah.
Re-released it later because, you do a special paint, or you do a special card, or you do something that says that it came with the Rancor, and then you could release it a year or two later and be fine.
Yeah. I mean, you could have put dirt on her feet because she's in the Rancor pit, and then you could release it during the 40th anniversary Return of the Jedi with clean feet. I mean, that's just little things like that could have made the difference.
Could they have repurposed some of the parts from the old Slave Leia that they did early in the line?
So. They're also, that brings up a good point, because they've kind of stepped away from that line. They don't make, I guess, what they call her Hut Slayer Leia. And so would they want another female who's captive slave to Jabba? Maybe Lucasfilm was like, no, you got to stay off of that one.
And
they didn't want to make a half-naked man for the Rancor keeper.
Or Ula is half naked too. So, maybe they just don't like having naked figures.
But the Gamorrean guard, they could have made one that split apart in half, and then you could have just the feet
that would have been cool.
dangling, from the Rancor's mouth.
That would have been cool.
Well, they were also talking about how the Rancor's mouth, you had to make it a certain size so that guard to fit in it. So, but the thing I didn't like was that Rancor's all rubber. Even the horns were rubber on it. They're making a big deal about it feeling, skin-like, and people were saying that Jabba's they're having issues with their Jabba that they did the same thing with, and Jabba's only a couple of years old.
Oh, really?
You talking about the one that came with the Black Series, or with the that came with the sail barge?
Comic-Con one?
I'm assuming it's the San Diego Comic-Con one, or the Black Series, as Jason's looking at his Jabba.
Yeah, mine looks fine right now.
Wow.
I do think,
I know the old Walmart, Legacy, the 3.75 inch, that thing has turned to jelly for a lot of people.
Maybe that's what they're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they totally missed the mark with that figure. But like I said, if they were going to charge $350, they should have just released the tiers at the same time. And you could have got all, because truthfully, they could have released all those figures on the tiers and then done like, okay, now we're going to give you an Ula. Now we're going to give you the Slave Leia. Maybe they could have brought back Slave Leia, done a Hut Slayer Leia. Because if they would have done that, just released it with the Rancor, people would have lost their minds.
Yeah.
Just for that figure.
Yeah. It's crazy. And you know, you hear people on Facebook groups saying no more repacks, no more repacks, no more repacks, and Hasbro's like, guess what? Here's a repack. You guys excited? It's like, are you not paying attention? I think I would prefer 8 figures a year brand new as opposed to 30 repurposed, repainted, repacked figures.
Right. And I
If we
know,
need-
Oh, the days of 60 plus figures a
It's
year,
over.
you know.
right.
Most of them being
And
new.
I know that people say with the Marvel Legends, they reuse pieces, which I think we'd be fine with that. You know, they'll reuse a torso, they reuse legs or arms or whatever and just repaint them. We'd be fine with that in the Star Wars world if, you know, we were getting new figures.
I mean,
Yeah.
Jedis are perfect. You could reuse the torsos and the robes and just slap new arms and legs and heads, and that's okay for me because there's some newness there,
Right.
and that's
Yeah.
a way to save money and it's creative. But I mean, carbonized, like, why aren't we getting carbonized Marvel figures? You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I have no interest at all in the carbonized thing. It's just so gimmicky. It's almost as gimmicky as these goofy Christmas variants that they've been doing lately. I'm just like, yeah.
What if
no,
they did
you know.
a holiday? Because there's a rumor of a holiday Chewbacca. What if it's a Life Day Chewie
That would be cool.
with the
That would
robe
be
and the
cool.
orb?
Yeah.
I still say I'm hoping that maybe with the interest that Favreau's shown in it, and you know, we might actually get some elements of the holiday special in the future. I'd love to see pretty much anything. I would buy it in 6-inch if they
And
did
you're not
that.
even a 6-inch guy.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's all I have to say on the Rancor. Anything else?
News wise or Rancor wise? Rancor, I think.
Rancor.
Yeah, no, I'm said
Are
my
we beating
piece.
a dead Rancor
we
now?
really are beating a dead horse. I really do, because yeah, none of us are going to back it, and not at 350. I got other things, and like I keep saying, when something like that pops up, it's like I could spend 350 on the Rancor, or I can go buy a vintage piece that I've been looking for, and I'm going to go buy that vintage piece that I've been looking for.
Always.
I'm going to be controversial and say I will back it. I don't think it's going to go forward though.
Yeah. When are you going to back it? Wait to the last minute.
Day.
Yeah.
Well,
Although if I see we're hours away and it's at 5,200, like why bother backing it at that point?
Right.
Because
Yeah.
it's sending a message to Hasbro, and if I back it at that point, and that's why I'm going to wait till the last minute. If I back it at that point, then it's just another vote towards you're doing the right thing, Hasbro. And I think the message they should be receiving is you are out of touch.
Right.
Yeah.
With your customer.
A good call. And maybe that's why you're seeing those numbers drop is, the
Also,
collectors are sort of like, we're done. We don't agree with the direction that you're taking right now. Cause yeah, we have to vote with our wallets, and I'm not just going to, I'm not a completist. So it's easy for me to say. I know some people are completists, and I know, Jason, you were once a completist, right?
I'm not getting the
I would have never guessed from the background.
no, I'm not getting the credit collection stuff, so I'm not a completist. But I think the other thing is Hasbro shouldn't be doing 3 or 4 campaigns at the same time, because there's a number of people who've said I've backed out of the Rancor, I'm backing the Proton Pack. You're giving people the opportunity to pick, and people don't necessarily have $1,000 to back 3 projects at the same time right before Christmas.
Right.
Yeah.
Because G.I. Joe's got one too.
Especially at that scale. That was another conversation I had yesterday, was the scale is just prohibitive as far as space.
That absolutely. Like there's very little that you can do with play sets and vehicles in the Black Series line because it's just so big. An X-Wing
That's what she said.
An X-Wing would be as big as a coffee table. The Falcon would be as big as a living room.
Yeah. I think if they were going to do the Falcon, they should do just the cockpit, and I think people would go crazy for like a diorama.
Are we doing a Falcon thing now?
Yeah.
AT-AT at.
It's an 8. I told you. It's a Star Wars thing.
But I think if they did, hey man. But yeah, I think if they were going to do the Falcon, they should do the cockpit. I think people would go ape shit over it. But anyway.
Yeah, Sideshow did that at one point. They did a cockpit that lit up and it looked beautiful, but I mean, you gotta ask yourself, is Hasbro going to do something all new?
No. Well, and then while I'm thinking, I know we're beating a dead horse, but I know we're thinking, all the molds and everything, but knowing how they make figures, they hadn't even made steel molds for that thing yet because it's probably all been silicone. And I mean, they've got a lot of money invested into it, but they don't have what it's going to take to bring it to production anywhere, near invested in that figure yet.
Moving on in the news, December 15th, mark your calendars, Disney Plus. There's going to be some sort of Star Wars action figure show. You'll go to Lucasfilm and you go to Hasbro to learn about the Book of Boba and the action figure creation process. So I'm interested in that because, as we've kind of mentioned in the past couple of weeks, I missed the days when there was a massive media release. And on top of that, you would go get all the figures, the first wave of figures, and that's over. And so it would be good to see what they're doing for Book of Boba.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to say with the media thing, though, it's funny that Star Wars isn't really doing it as much, but that's become such a mainstream of the movie business now. Star Wars is sort of the originator of the marketing, the mass media blitz kind of thing. And, I was noticing the other day, I was in the checkout line at Publix, and Paul Rudd, Sexiest Man Alive, at the same time as the new Ghostbusters is coming out. It's all orchestrated. You know what I mean? It's all the buzz. Star Wars started that whole thing. Cereal boxes and Puffs Kleenex and the Burger King glasses and this media blitz machine. And it's such a part of Hollywood now. They do it like every big budget movies. They've got the whole marketing campaign and these little subtleties, magazine covers. So everywhere you look, there it is, sort of staring at you.
Right.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, episode 1 did that. I mean, you couldn't turn your head in a store without seeing some episode 1 diapers or episode 1 soap or episode.
Hey, sequel trilogy did it too. I saw Ray Ziploc bags.
Yeah.
You could get Star Wars paper towels.
Star Wars Band-Aids.
Exactly.
Star Wars the Flamethrower. I mean, Mel Brooks did that on purpose.
Right.
And that was before the prequels.
We talked about that yesterday, Jason, about the whole, with the marketing blitz and oh my God, it was, they experimented. For Gen Xers, man, we were the guinea pig generation. Anything as far as marketing is concerned, they learned it with us. We are Happy Meals and Saturday morning cartoon toy spinoffs.
Right. Well, because think about it, how many toys were made off of a cartoon? Or they were like, no, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. People were making cartoons to sell toys in our day. That's how He-Man came up. That's how we got Mask. That's how, two of the best toy lines that we had were because they wanted to sell, they made a cartoon of it.
Yeah.
Or made the cartoon to sell toys, rather. Help, anyway.
What's like in the episode of Toys That Made Us with G.I. Joe, the guy, he's like, it was diabolical how we sucked dollars out of little kids' wallets. I mean, there were no ethics in that business. It was all about money.
No,
man. How can we get kids to buy?
Right. Well, shit. Could you imagine being the guy that sold G.I. Joe to them for $100,000?
Oh my God, poor guy. You can see it's still heartbreaking to his son, this idea that, damn.
Yeah.
Oh, that's depressing.
It is very much. It is a cutthroat business, toys.
We'll get into the Lucasfilm news in a little bit. Let's go to Galaxy's Edge.
Oh.
Disney did mention on a investor call that there's expansions that are being considered for Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. Perhaps they're trying to add some value to the Star Cruiser because of its price, to say, hey.
I heard it was a restaurant. They were talking about building onto the back of Oga's and doing a full-fledged restaurant as opposed to like the window pickup thing. That's what I heard. I can't remember what source I saw that. They said there was some unused space behind Oga's Cantina. And it would make sense where if you came in as Oga's is sort of the bar, you hang out at the bar till they have your table ready. It's sort of the dynamic works.
Right.
Well,
that was
go ahead.
That was supposed to be the original plan for Oga's, is they were going to have a dinner show or something behind there and Oga's was the pre-show.
That might be the expansion, maybe.
Yeah,
I saw that news too. It sounds interesting. Where did you guys see the video? Glenn, did you say something about a video about the Star Cruiser? Is that on YouTube?
That was in the they were doing a conference or convention down in Orlando, and they were doing some Star Cruiser stuff.
Yeah,
oh, cool. They were on location.
There's video of the Star Cruiser.
Oh, yeah, I got to
There's
check that
video
out.
of the dude, whoever, because
Josh D'Amaro.
Yeah, you know names better than me. Josh D'Amaro lighting up the lightsaber. There's him in the lightsaber room, and there's him on the bridge of the Star Cruiser.
Cool. How's that lightsaber?
It looks pretty badass, but the lightsaber training looked kind of cheesy. It looked cool because, you know, the technology exists to do it, but you know, you're basically standing in a room looking at this thing that's shooting lasers, basically light beams at you, and you try to hit them.
Yeah.
So it looked like you were holding the lightsaber, you know, straight up, and then, you know, it wasn't, and then you're doing like this kind of stuff. So there, or, you know, you're holding it upright and you're just kind of moving it left to right, and there was not a whole lot of aerobics or acrobatics going into it, which, you know, maybe that's just Josh doesn't know what he's doing, or he's just trying to keep it simple. But I mean, it looked cool, but I don't know. I'm so torn with the Star Cruiser.
I was disappointed by it.
I am. I'm trying, because I think what they're doing with the Star Cruiser is they're like, this is what we promised them from Galaxy's Edge, and they got disappointed. So let's do everything we promised them from Galaxy's Edge and charge them $5,000 for 2 days.
But it looked like a cheap escape room experience. Like
they
showed us that lightsaber that ignites from the hilt, and that's not what Josh had. It was it had the white pole in it that when he flipped it on, it turned blue. Right. And then, like you're saying, it's light beams. So light beam goes out, and all you have to do is move the lightsaber over there. Like, you can do the exact same thing with a flashlight. To me, to me, it felt like there was no value in that.
Right.
And then
it's like the old inflatable.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and what Jason's saying is right, because there's no way, from what I've seen about that one that ignites, there's no way you could use that in the lightsaber room, because it's just filament or something. It if you moved it, I think the whole thing would collapse. So it's literally, you've got to hold it in one spot to get that effect. You know, and then when you have the light bulb, basically.
And then they moved to the bridge of the Star Cruiser to show off a battle, and so you have player A moving where you shoot the blaster, or your guns, wherever you fire, and then person B is actually hitting the fire button. So it's a lot like the Millennium Falcon ride, where one person's doing one thing, another person's doing another, so you're working together. But again, it felt like the ship didn't move, like there's no lights flashing. It just felt like a cheap escape room experience to me, and I'm like, is that worth $6,000 for 2 nights?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Right. I'm
not in the space either, by the way. So, like, what you see on a video on YouTube is completely different than what you experience.
Right. I mean, maybe they will have lights and stuff going off, you know, when it comes time for it to go live, and they were just kind of showing it off. But yeah, I'm concerned, because I know Ashley, did a whole press event, and Ashley Eckstein was there, and she did a live video, and she was talking about it. And it really felt like what they promised us for Galaxy's Edge, and they couldn't give us. Now they're putting it into a $5,000 experience.
Yeah. And so, like, there was expansion pad behind the First Order area in Galaxy's Edge, which is kind of behind Olga's area.
That was what I understood, that area back there. And I will say that over next to where the Kylo Ren interaction thing is, there's like a First Order gift shop right there. It felt so temporary.
Yeah.
I wonder if all of that's going to be where they're going to be expanding from.
But I would hope it would be a ride or something, not just here's a bar.
Yeah, no, it needs to be a ride versus a restaurant bar thing.
And I also thought it was like a 2028, 2030 kind of expansion. I didn't think it was going to be that close. But if they're already starting to talk about it, who knows? They
may be just doing that to strum up business for Galaxy's Edge too, because I don't know. I don't know. I think as much as I love it, I think we're all kind of like disappointed by it. And I want to go back. Don't get me wrong. I can't wait to go back. It's just, I'm good. My expectations are going to be way lower next time.
Yeah, it kills me to talk like this, because I want to love Star Wars. I don't know if I'm just getting old and bitter, or and the imagination and the wonder starting to deteriorate, or what, or if they're just, putting shit in a box and slapping a label on it and say, "Here, kid, have this."
Right. Now, I get what you're saying. It also sucks. And I know I keep saying this every time we bring it up. When you go to Universal and you go to Harry Potter World and you're like, okay, I've seen this in the movies. I've seen that in the movies.
Yeah, we've talked about that.
I binge watched Harry Potter just so that I could experience Harry Potter World better. And as you're watching Harry Potter, you're like, okay, I've seen all this stuff before, and now everything's making sense. Whereas when you go to Galaxy's Edge, there's just no rhyme or reason to it. And I was talking to Susan about this yesterday, that I think within 5 to 10 years, the canon, quote unquote, canonness of Galaxy's Edge will be gone. And it's just going to be a hodgepodge of stuff, because people are going to go there and they're going to be like, where's the Mandalorian? Where's Baby Yoda? Where's Boba Fett? Where's this? And they're like, but they don't exist in this time frame. They're going to have to do either the festival thing where they bring people in, or they're going to have to do the World Between Worlds thing. There's three ways they can do the festivals. They can do the World Between Worlds, or they can just say, forget the canon and have everybody in here at one time.
Yeah.
But the cool thing that I saw, that just because I love Wampas, is they're doing something like some kind of animatronic thing with the guy in like some really badass looking stilts, and then he's got some kind of arm brackets on him, armatures or whatever, that go out another 5 or 6 feet. And when they're showing them, they're not in a costume, but the feet are white and furry, and you're like, they're setting up for a Wampa.
That looks like a Wampa. So
that's cool.
And it's like, I'm sorry, Jason, go ahead. Jerry gets to see the behind the scenes.
No, it's called Project EXO, and it is, Disney's got different characters at different sizes, and they're limited to people size. And this is a way to, and the beast is, bigger than what they put a person in the costume for example. So this is a way to put people on stilts. The problem is, when you have a bigger character, you have bigger weight, and it puts a lot of stress on the actor, the performer. And so Disney's trying to find a way to make it lightweight, which they've done. They've 3D printed muscles. So it's like a wireframe muscle that they'll put underneath the costume, which doesn't increase weight like padding would. And so they're able to perform. And like you're saying, this person had white feet, Wampa feet. I mean, you're going to see a Wampa walking down Galaxy's Edge, and that would be amazing.
Right.
The thing I worry about is they do a lot of this kind of stuff, and then they never go forward with it.
Right.
They've done this before with like droids. We were supposed to get droids in Galaxy's Edge, but it became a lawsuit, and the lawyers were afraid it'd be a lawsuit. Some kid walks in front of a droid and the droid runs her over, or him over, whatever.
Right. Well, but that's why you could pay $5,000 and see it in the Star Cruiser.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think at least with having a person in a costume, you'd have more control over it. And if you could have a couple of handlers with them, trying to do crowd control, and, maybe you're not going to get stepped on.
Yeah, I think it would be more like a Megatron Optimus Prime experience. If you've gone to Universal, they're kind of like housed in a small area where you just walk up, you take their photo. They don't move. They just, the actors move, but they're pretty stationary. They don't move around where they can accidentally bump into you. So, get your photo with the Wampa. Right.
Well, why would they spend that much money making it mobile unless they're going to stay, keep it they can move around in whatever, whatever enclosure they have.
Yeah. I think.
But how are they going to pull off a Hoth creature in the Florida
exactly
heat?
10 minutes at a time.
Not to mention the poor guy in the suit. In 10 minutes, that's all you got.
Or like I was saying, they're stationary in one place. It could be an air-conditioned room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They could make it look like Hoth at that point, and then they could have a little bit more movement than like Megatron, because I think Megatron's almost, his feet are almost planted or something. I don't know. I haven't paid that close of attention, but I know they don't move around a whole lot. It's like when you go see Blue in the Raptor attack, he's pops out at you.
It was funny during the Star Wars weekend days and at Holly MGM. It was MGM. They would do a whole weekend of Star Wars stuff, and I think they hired the 501st to come in because Disney didn't want to produce the costumes, so they would hire the 501st to come in and perform for people. And I was in line for Darth Vader, and I was like the next person, and the person handling Darth Vader was like, "Hold on one moment, Darth Vader will be right back." And I'm like, okay, so there's a changeover happening. Darth Vader comes out, and I think he ate like a turkey or something. Like, it was a completely different body size than the first Darth Vader. So it was funny. And so I think that's what they would do for a Wampa.
Mm-hmm.
The other guy like dropped 30 pounds water weight.
What the heck happened? So that was all the
That's
Galaxy
what
Edge.
the Florida sun in a black costume will do.
Yep. Cutting over to Lucasfilm real quick. Kathleen Kennedy has allegedly extended her contract through to 2024, for good or for bad.
Right.
It'd be interesting because we've talking about it. You know, in 2025, do the release of action figures change? Is this something that Kathleen is, you know, kind of putting the brakes on, or what? So we'll see.
I've wondered that if that's some marching orders coming down from Disney, because that's the kind of draconian shit they do.
Yeah, but like, why is it good for Marvel but not for Disney or for Lucasfilm? So I don't know.
Well, you think about the politics of all those years of back the vintage days, you know, where the female character didn't sell philosophy. And then when, you know, Force Awakens came out and there weren't enough Rey figures, so then they overproduced them. And I don't think they've gotten that worked out yet. So, you know, you go to walk into Ollie's now and you got a wall of Rey.
Right.
Is that the after effect of that whole thing? You know?
Yeah, like, just because they're the loudest doesn't mean that they're the majority.
Right.
Yeah.
People are screaming, "Where's Rey?" But if it's 50 people screaming at the top of their lungs, and you got 1,000 people in the room, you know, it's like, what do you listen to? Patty J.
The politics of the whole thing.
Patty Jenkins.
The Force is female.
Patty Jenkins has seemed to have stepped away from Rogue Squadron. I'm not really sure if it's indefinitely or permanently due to creative differences. It's not really confirmed because nobody's at Lucasfilm has said, yes, this has happened. It could just be more anti-Kathy rumblings. But I was really excited about Rogue Squadron. I haven't read the books, but I understand it deals with PTSD and depression. So just to add more dimension and character to the characters would be cool to have in movies.
I'd heard rumors that she was not happy with the script. I don't know how much truth there is to that.
Yeah,
but, you know,
that's the rumor.
Speculation.
Yeah, there's that, and then you also hear that Lucasfilm is very hands-on when it comes to scripts and stuff, and they don't let people have that much leeway. So I think that's sort of what happened. It could be what happened.
I get that because, you know, Rogue One was supposed to be a war movie, and I think they had an edit where it's just too much of a war movie. It didn't feel like Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happened with Solo, you know, you'd want to make sure you rein it in a little bit and have some control at the start before it gets out of control when it's too late.
Right.
So I understand.
That's why I wonder about with the sequel trilogy. It's just like, I have a hard time believing that they went into this, you know, huge purchase on the part of Disney and then just randomly said, yeah, let's just see what happens with the story, and didn't have something already in place. Or was that the case and they learned from that, and that's why they've been so hands-on with everything that's come out since?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's all speculation, unfortunately, but I mean, we can only do our best guess, and that seems as good as any.
Right.
And then the last piece of news this week, Glenn, do you want to take it?
Oh, I just had it up, and who would they announced an
Natasha Liu Bordizzo.
She's gonna be Sabine. She's gonna be Sabine.
Again, that hasn't been officially announced by Lucasfilm, but it's, you know, in Variety or Deadline, and those are pretty big trades. They don't typically announce things like that if it wasn't true.
Oh, dude, woo! I am so trying to keep calm for this Ahsoka series.
Are you wearing your brown pants?
I am trying to. Oh, I can't wait. I don't want to get excited because I'm overexcited about the Ahsoka series because it's going to bring back a wave of emotion. And like I've been saying, just give me 2-3 good episodes. At least close out the Rebels. I don't care if it's just 2 or 3 episodes. You know, you don't have to do the whole Ahsoka series on the Rebels, but Wow, they bring back Sabine, you know it's going to be on, because you know they're going to be looking for Ezra and Thrawn, and they're both got to be in this episode. And just don't do the thing where that ends the season. You find them and they turn around and then it goes to black, and you got to wait another 3 years for them to make another season. Don't do that to me. But the Ahsoka series is just, I've got goosebumps thinking about that series because. Wow. I mean, I love Boba Fett. I'm looking forward to the book of Boba Fett, but Rebels has just been where it's at for me the past few years. And yeah, wow.
Yeah, so the show's rumored to film next year in 2022 up through the fall and released in the spring of 2023. That's not official. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I don't want Rebels season 5.
Boo.
I want it to be about Ahsoka. And I want Ahsoka I want Ahsoka to be the focus and her character development in the path of the Jedi and her choices and her living with the choices that she's made. It would be great if Sabine and Ezra are kind of on the sidelines coming in and out of the story as they progress to try to find Thrawn. Mm-hmm. I just don't want a continuation of Rebels.
I think it's going to be a combination of the two because
I'm okay with that.
Hayden Christensen's supposed to be playing that too. So he's going to, her and Anakin, seeing some flashbacks from Clone Wars for them. I think it's going to be an amazing episode, amazing series, just because, watching Clone Wars and seeing that relationship form. And then we're going to get to go back and revisit it in live action. If they do both, I think it's going to be a combination of the two, which is going to be a mind-blowing series for a lot of people. Because I think she's the new Boba Fett. I think she's kind of taken over where Boba Fett left off for people. And she's been top of mind because it's only been a few years for her versus Boba Fett, where it's been like 30.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a good way to sort of tie those worlds together because for me personally, I'm not a fan of the animation. I've tried to watch Clone Wars, never could get into it. I've never watched any of the Rebels episodes. So if they did that with the live action, that would give fans like me who might not have been into the animation a reason to go back and make a point to watch that. Because I don't know. Even with the old cartoons, with the droids and the Ewoks, I never really got into it. Although I have to say I've been watching droids a little bit,
trippy.
Yeah,
droids is trippy.
It's got a nostalgic feel. You forgot how bad 80s cartoons were, but yeah, with the Clone Wars, I've tried to watch that like 3 times, and I just never can get past 2 or 3 episodes into it. It doesn't hold my interest. But if you tied those storylines together with the live action show, that would give me reason to go back and learn that part of the lore.
I mean, what you said is right, because Lucasfilm is good about doing that, where you got to go, with when Ahsoka popped up and where's Grand Admiral Thrawn. Now you have all these people that are going to go back and figure out who he is. And the only way to do that is in Rebels. So you got to go back and at least rewatch that season of Rebels to know who he is. And then maybe, you'll get more into it. And I think, I don't know. I don't want to have to watch, even though I love Star Wars. It's like, do you want to watch everything to get what's going on? Yeah. Because that's what they did with Marvel. Yeah. To really get what's going on with Marvel, you've got to watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. You've got to, watch all the crappy, the Hulk. You got to, and it just, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that, but because I want to, it's just one of those things where you want the novice to be able to sit down and be like, all right, watch this. It's awesome. And then they if they sit there with too many questions, you can't enjoy it.
I'm sure they'll find a way to work some sort of exposition in there to sort of an abridged version of what's going on in the backstory. Right. I think that would be enough for casual watcher to be able to follow along with it, but at the same time would give hardcore fans or folks who have been with the franchise for years to go back and watch some of those animated shows. So if they could keep that sort of middle ground, I think would work well for it.
All right. Yeah. We've hit an hour. Should we?
Do you want to go into pricing?
Yeah. Do we want to wrap it up and then next week go into pricing?
Well, I still want to have Jerry on for his thing. So.
Well, I mean, yeah, but we're splitting this, aren't we? In 2
okay.
weeks?
Well, let's do that. We'll go ahead. Because
you're taking vacation, right?
Yes. No, we are.
Glenn's going on vacation, so he can't record. So we're going to do 2 shows this one. So we'll save pricing, I guess, for the next show.
All right. Well, cool.
So we're going to record 2 episodes today, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Is that all right?
Well, let me go pee, man. This coffee's getting.
Yeah, we'll take a break.
All right. Well, we're gonna go take a pee break, and we'll end this one for this week.
Longest pee break in the world. 1 week long pee break.
So we'll do that, and next week come back. We'll get into Jerry. He's a big into Sears collecting, so we're gonna get into that, and we're gonna talk vintage pricing. So hope everybody have a great Thanksgiving. This is the way.
This is the way. Eat the turkeys, people.